All right, back again. It's your homie SIYEYlETRE. So we're going to discuss what is FBA. When black people are talking about FBA, what is it? I'm doing more of these polite debates, meaning that we're not over talking each other, we're not interrupting each other, we're not performing, we're having an intellectual, polite discussion. So let's get to it. What is FBA? So the first thing you have to understand, it is a very political discussion. If you're the type of person who thinks it's just about slavery and skin color, then this is not the conversation for you. You will never understand FBA. There are countries that have been created when you were 8 years old. There were countries that were created when you were 6. And nobody ever said, hey, where's your DNA test? Nobody ever said, hey, prove to me that that's what you are. Only melanated people do that. If you look in all the world, Vietnam can split up right now. And nobody's going to sit up here and ask Vietnamese people to prove anything. South Sudan was recently created. Nobody's going to say, hey, well, you guys really should call yourself Kush people. Why are you calling yourself Sudan? Because nobody's going to get into that discussion because these are political discussions, number one. Number two, FBA is a history discussion. A lot of people don't want to admit that. Now, if you want to have a polite debate about it, just call into the show. We can have a polite debate about it and go intellect for intellect, research for research. The second, we're still on the second thing, history. And it's history of the land, and then it's history of the people. So, history of the land, 1502, the year 1502. And that's well over 100 years before the 1619 event. 1502, there were documented Moors here. Documented, not me just making it up, but documented. And then there's a conversation that comes before 1502, which is human beings of dark brown complexion and very dark brown complexion that have nothing to do with Africa. The same way Aboriginals in Australia have nothing to do with Africa. The same way the dark-skinned people of Hawaii that Hawaiians will tell you about. They're dark brown humans. They have nothing to do with Africa. The same with the UC Berkeley will tell you about the Ohlone. The Ohlone are dark brown people who've been here for 10,000 years. They have nothing to do with Africa. If you're not able to have that type of conversation with documented research, then you can't have an FBA conversation. You'll never understand FBA. The same thing is true with people who say the 1931 event where England brought all these people from Russia and Poland and called them Zio. They brought them from Russia and Poland in 1931 and called them Zio. And then they put them in Moab. They did not put them above the Dead Sea. They put them in Moab. And they reclassified Moab to be something totally different. They didn't say, hey, where's your DNA? So if you're not able to have these complex conversations, then you're not going to understand what FBA is. All we ask is that you don't ask us any questions. Just go focus on your job, focus on your career. All we're saying is, if we're doing something and we're not directing our voice to you, then don't even engage. Let's stay with the second one again. History of the land. So like I said, there's 1502. Then there's the revolt against the Spaniards. That's a totally different event. And those people, once they revolted, they went and interacted with more people of that land. This is all happening before 1619. This is all happening before 1619. So now their children and grandchildren are established here. Their children and grandchildren are established here, combined with the people that were before. Now look at Powhatan and Powhatan's grandmother. Everybody says, well, Powhatan is copper skin. Okay, define copper skin. A reddish brown is still a brown. It's not red. It's still brown. They had reddish brown Kush. That's documented. They had reddish brown Ethiopians. They had reddish brown Egyptians, Nubians, before Alexander came in. Again, if you guys can't have a documented history conversation, if it's just your feelings and you're trying to debunk people because it doesn't make sense to you, this is not that conversation for you. Just move on. So land and history of the people. Then we have another set of people that came. That's the 1619 event. And you had everything that happened with the Amish. The Amish had a different type of policy. There wasn't the Amish had a totally different type of policy. People worked indentured. That's a different policy. The first slave owner of the land was not a black man, was a white guy. And I'm going to do a different video on him. That was a white guy. The very first guy, and the second guy was a white guy, and the third guy was a white guy. Turning Point USA tries to say it was a black guy, but that guy wasn't until like 2 decades later. That's a totally different thing. But the reason they're saying it is because it was a totally different America. Let me say it one more time. The reason they're saying that is because it was a totally different America. Now let's get to that. You have the John Hanson government. The John Hanson government and everything that happened before John Hanson all the way to 1619 is a totally different America. Policy-wise. That's why I keep telling people there are 4 different Americas when you talk about the history of America. Now, you get to the John Punch case and the John Cassar case. Or some people would call it Castor. John Punch, John Castor, not the same person. 2 totally different cases happening at 2 totally different timelines. FBA is dramatically different from a lot of other melanated people because it involves timeline, policy, people of the land, the land. You're not able to have that discussion. So it's going to be different from you. Amazigh Africans are still Africans. Amazigh Africans are still Africans. You call them Berbers in your Bible, but they're Amazigh. Amazigh culture will tell you they dominated Iberia before the 1st century. So African, it wasn't even Europe at that time. Africans, Amazigh controlled, keyword here, controlled all of Spain, aka Iberia, before there was a Rome in 50 BC. Before 50 BC, before the 1st century. So what are we talking about? If you're so worried about what happens in USA, I just gave you documented history of Spain. You should be able to go to the Spain people and say, hey, this was originally African. But you don't do that because you don't know the history. You don't do that because you're not well read on the history. You only understand right now. Well, I don't care about that. I only focus on right now. And that's what makes you a tether. You're a tether because you're trying to antagonize. You're a tether because you're trying to initiate insults. Not because you're immigrant, it's because you're an outsider trying your best to create an argument. But when we was getting called Akata in 1990, we let it go. When we was getting called Akata in the 2000s, we let it go. It didn't really stop until Obama got elected. Now, all of a sudden, people hear the word tether, they get upset. Well, you were doing the same thing for 2 decades. And if you were really intellectual, you would go to Spain and say, hey, y'all African, because it's documented through timeline that Africans controlled this whole place. They had a battle with the Visigoths, the Iberians did. The Amazigh did. You have several queens and kings of Berber lineage, bloodline. So what are we talking about? So Rome was established, and then Rome created Portugal. Rome created Portugal before there was a Spain. This is going to make sense when I go back to talking about FBA. Rome created Portugal before there was a Spain. Before the Moors came. Now, Portugal is there, and the Moors come in 700. The Moors can't go tell Portugal anything because Portugal is just like FBA. They believe we are of the land. They believe we are of Roman lineage. They believe, hey, look, dark-skinned people in Cartagena, we get along. Portugal, we get along. Don't come over here with that nonsense. And you know what? The Moors said, it's cool. We'll stay down here in Granada because all we want to do is the water anyway. And they left all this other area open. Now, here come the Visigoths. The Visigoths don't even come in the middle of Spain. They come in the top of Spain. Only. You gotta read this stuff. People say, oh, the Visigoths conquered all of Spain. No, they didn't. Name one battle. Show us how they even went toward the center. No, you can't. And that's the thing with people who just want to dictate how history. You don't have no evidence of what you're saying. You just want to talk in circles. This is all documented evidence I'm giving. Let me give you another one. So now the Moors are there. So when the Moors lose their battle, Cartagena is still there. Portugal is still there. Later, a man named Robert the Old comes and starts to form Spain. Really was a Duke of Burgundy, but you know, it's debatable, Duke of Burgundy versus Robert the Old. But guess what? They came and formed Spain out of nothing. They did another FBA. They came and said, hey, we believe this, and we're going to paperwork that. And to this day, you guys are calling them Spaniards. You didn't say, hey, where's your DNA test? Because this used to all be Africa. No, you start listening to what they say and you said, oh, it's Europe. Bro, what are you talking about? It's one boat ride. It's like a 12-hour boat ride from Morocco to Spain. You don't think those Africans were controlling that whole thing? When they talk about the Rock of Gibraltar, they're talking about Africans controlling the Rock of Gibraltar. When they talk about the first humans at the Rock of Gibraltar, they're talking about... Some of you people of African and Pan-African conversation, you don't even know how to go and have a superior conversation about the Rock of Gibraltar. That is your best argument, but you don't want to use that. You're focused on trying to police USA people. That's the big issue. You want to police and wag your finger, and then when we say something back to you, now all of a sudden you feel like you're being attacked. When you're the one who initiated the insult. So this is why we break down what lineage is. It's a combination. It's a lineage of the bloodline conversation, but it's a combination of people of the land, timeline, and great-grandparents, great-grandfather, great-grandmother, both sides. Can you have one drop of something else? Of course you can. Can you have 3 drops of something else? Of course you can. Okay? It's not a dark skin thing. It's not a light skin thing. It is a understanding that you're foundational to this particular land, the same way an Aborigine is foundational to their particular land. I just came back from Australia. I spent 3 weeks in Australia. It's the same concept. People, you have light-skinned Aborigine. You have Aborigines that look white. Guess what? They're Aboriginal. So I'm saying, as far as here in the USA, when you are au fait, a Louisiana Creole term, you're still of this land. I know 30% of FBA don't want to agree with that. But those are the people who just like to argue. The truth of the matter is, FBA is a political concept based on lineage. That's just what it is. And it's the most powerful strategic concept anybody can have. To argue that's not strategic. And you don't even have to agree with SIYEYlETRE. It's the most strategic thing. To be of that understanding that what is for us of the same political mindset, lineage mindset, is for us. And the people who ally with us are good to go. Delineation is really about setting aside a political understanding that this group of people, even though they may look like someone from Grenada, even though they may look like someone from Fiji, they are documented differently. That's what it is. The same thing with the gypsies in Romania. They're documented differently. The same difference between the Crete people versus the Italians. They're documented differently. I can prove to you that many Not all, but many of the people in that area were dark-skinned people. I could prove that to you through actual names and timelines. But they have documented that they are this as of today, and that's what we go with. And some of them will even tell you that dark-skinned people were indigenous to that area. I can prove to you that the Minoans occupied what you now know as Greece, and that there was no Greece. It was actually the Minoans' land. And according to the Macedonians, one huge tidal wave wiped out everybody. No, that didn't happen. The Macedonians massacred those people. The Macedonians befriended those people, told them it was all about kumbaya, told them, hey, you guys are not like, yeah, you know what? And then got rid of them. So, yeah, totally different thing. But it is about the land. As boring as that may sound, it is about your great grandmother. That's why many a times we will ask you, where's your great grandmother from? What about your great grandmother on your father's side? What about your great grandfather on your mother's side? We will ask you these things. We will inquire about these things because it's easy for a person of the land to give you that descriptive. If you start saying, what are you talking about? We know you're of something else. Because mentally, you're not of the land. I saw the guy Akbar. I'm gonna make a video about that. Akbar keeps saying he was born and raised in LA. He was born and raised in LA. But he doesn't know anything BLK. You ask him, hey, can you recite the Negro spiritual? He has no idea what we're talking about. Yeah, you just appear BLK, but you're not BLK. You know what? Let's create FBA and start our own situation because we see where this is going. You guys are already delineated by tribes. The Arabs created the tribes for you. Most of you guys cannot tell me who started your tribe. I got into a discussion with an African who told me about his tribe, and I said, well, who started the tribe? He didn't know. I said, are you sure? And then I told him, because I've been to Africa 4 times, I told him, hey, look, your tribe was started by a guy from Iraq. Here's his name. Here's the year it happened. You know what they did? No, that's not true. See, this whole echo chamber of that's not true, and you just want to yell and argue and shout people down. This is why people don't have anything. It's because you just shouting down new information. If you got better information, say it. So when I gave him the opportunity to give better information, he quoted a guy from Fulani. Well, that he can't be the one that created Hausa because Hausa existed before Fulani existed, and the Fula came down from north above Libya to create the Fulani. And that's even according to their culture, to their cultural oral history. So what are you talking about? And then there was more arguing. See, it's not about arguing. Do you have the documentation or not? We're not going to do a DNA on you. We're not going to disrespect you like that. And the only reason we're saying something to you is because you brought it up. So you got to understand, when I go to Texas, I don't speak on what the Texas people do in Fort Worth. I don't speak on what the people do in White Texas. I don't speak on what the people do in Dallas. I don't even start teasing people about the difference between Dallas and Houston. What am I doing that for? But when y'all come to this country, you start opening your mouth about stuff you don't understand, and you start initiating insults. And then you get mad when somebody says something back to you, and then another person walks in, sees the butt end of the conversation, and believes that I'm attacking you. when you're the one that initiated the problem. And finally, number 5, lineage discussions are based on timeline, documented births, ownership, people of the land, these type of things. It is not based on DNA. DNA is a brand new 2003 thing. It has been around since the 1800s, but it only just recently got mapped. Recently got mapped. Has it been around since 1853? Yes. But it was just a discussion in 1853. It has only recently gotten mapped. And as a person who's been in medical over 2 decades, I will tell you, it is constantly being upgraded. They have not been able to decipher what's called the God gene. So please stop making everything about DNA. DNA is a very surface level thing. It is man's best guess. It is science is man's best guess. Science will tell you in 1960 that grapefruit have the most vitamin C. Then they'll change it and say in 1970, 1980 that oranges have higher vitamin C than grapefruits. Then science will tell you in 1990 they'll change it back to grapefruit. I kid you not. And in the 2000s, they'll change it to something else. This is man's best guess. This is why science flip-flops a lot. Okay? Every 6 to 12 years, science will change and sometimes go back to its original theory. So the DNA conversation is not something for you to wag your fingers at. It's the same way that I could say, Kush, it is documented that Kush existed before there was a Egypt. It is documented the first pharaoh was a dark-skinned Kushite, a dark-skinned Sudanese. Think about that. This is why they called them Nubians before Alexander came. This is why they did that. Alexander came and put his blood into it, and then used his military force to keep his people protected, because there were several people trying to dethrone. There's 7 different, probably 8 different Cleopatras. Which Cleopatra are you talking about? One of the Cleopatras tried to dethrone. 2 of the Cleopatras with Mark Antony, one with Mark Antony tried to dethrone. So what are we talking about? You have to know these complexities. And many of you guys don't. You're just looking for a surface level answer that you can understand. So in conclusion, FBA is a very complex, very detailed political discussion about documented people of the land, people's culture, lineage, bloodline, who's your great-grandmother, who's your great-grandfather. It is detailed. Can somebody have a splash of this and a splash of that? Yes. Yes, they can. But you cannot try to weaponize and say, hey, everybody's African. If that's the case, then you need to equally be able to go over there and tell Spain you're African as well. Because I gave you the documented timeline information. But you're not willing to do that, which means that you just want to insult USA people. Think about what I'm saying. Before you get offended, think about what I'm saying. If your logic is really high functioning intellectual and you're wagging your finger about USA people, you need to equally be able to go over there and wag your finger to the Aborigine of Australia. How about the Jawar people, the dark-skinned Jawar people of China? You ever think about that? Because they're dark-skinned, are they African? They're the same Jawar people of northern Africa. The same people. The same identical people. The same culture. How did they get all the way in China? Think about that. Think about what I'm saying. How did they get all the way in China? I'm making your argument for you. But you're not going to go say that to the Chinese people. How about Sri Lankans? Sri Lankans are very dark skinned. Are you going to tell them they African? Oh, you're just going to go with the fact that they're Asian. It's still amazing to me how a very dark skinned Pakistani, the police force, because I've worked at 2 police stations in the past as a second job, the police force will still document a very, very dark skinned Pakistani who's darker than me as white. Let's make some videos on that. Show me that you got to the end of this video and let's make some videos on that. The police force in the USA will take a very, very dark-skinned Pakistani, Indian, Sri Lankan and put them down as white. I kid you not. Thank you for getting down to this part of the video. If you'd like to donate, please donate to the King of Classy. Anything will help, because these things are time consuming. It took me about an hour to do this for you guys. What is FBA? Pass this around to everybody you know. Get this conversation started, man. We want to get more people understanding. It's bigger than Tariq. These things need to be discussed. Even if Tariq was to get whatever happened, we need to be able to continue the FBA conversation because Tariq, even he tell you he's not the leader. We got to advance the conversation. So I'm advancing the more polite intellectual. If you want me on your one-on-one interviews, I come with a group of people. So it's more than just me that come. But we're willing to have that discussion. I don't really do panel interviews because it's too much chaos. I think that people got to hear well thought out presentations because we're too old at this point. We got to have well thought out presentations. Much love to everybody, and thank you to everybody that donated, people who wanted me to do a breakdown of this. And I will be talking to you soon, man. Peace.